Cool. So I'm going to tell you first a little bit about myself. I actually no longer am the VP of product marketing. I'm the VP of strategic marketing. So my title, Vimeo has like transformed over the past 4 years, like every year. It's a different company, which happens, and I'm sure many of you have experienced in the tech industry. So currently I'm responsible for product marketing, growth marketing, and lifecycle marketing. And I've also recently taken on like a GM type role, and I'm running the self-serve business, which has been super interesting. And that's been kind of, the last 3 months or so, I've been responsible. And in that role, I'm like setting the 2024 targets and overseeing a cross-functional group to really align against key initiatives and milestones so that we can hit those targets. And so if any of you have questions at the end regarding kind of self-service and growth, I'm happy to also share some of my experience there. And I've been at Vimeo now for, as I mentioned, over 4 years and seen a lot of different iterations of the company. It's an exciting place to work, though, because we have a strong brand and a strong community, and have been building also a powerful video software platform. So that's been great. And before I was at Vimeo, I was at Share This, which is an ad tech company with free social sharing publisher tools. So millions of publishers used our tools. And then we basically took all of the data from publisher sites and packaged them up into a monetization strategy, selling to big brands and data companies. And while at Share This, I ran product marketing, and I also, towards the end of my time there, I took on all of marketing, which was really interesting because I was able to like learn all aspects of marketing, which I think makes you a better product marketer when you understand like PR and CRM and all of the different facets that goes into a really strong 360-degree marketing strategy. And I started my career out at Yodel, which is a B2B software company, which has a suite of small business digital marketing tools. And there I was really focused on just product marketing and launching products. I have two wonderful kids. You can see their silly pictures here. Ty is the older one. He's almost 5, and Linnea is a year and a half. And honestly, I wish I had more time outside of work to do other things except take care of them and be with them. But I spend all of my time with them, which is also very fun. Okay, so today we're going to walk through a product launch that my team was responsible for bringing to market, and we're going to break down the elements of the go-to-market strategy artifact that I'm not sure if all of you had a chance to look at, but you will have access to it after this. And really, I think the goal of today is really to help you guys think about how do you craft a really successful go-to-market strategy to drive cross-functional alignment and ensure that you have an effective launch. So what we're going to walk through today is the interactive video launch, which is essentially a product that allows users to build dynamic video content. So think videos where you can choose your own adventure and go down different paths within the video itself. So it's a fun one. Before we go into a breakdown of that strategy, I do want to give everybody an overview of Vimeo. I'm not sure if everyone knows, what Vimeo is. You probably just think of it as a competitor to YouTube. So I want to give you guys more context on how we run the business so you can better put this launch in the context of the business, because obviously every business is different. And, depending on if you have a sales assisted go-to-market or a self-serve go-to-market, your go-to-market strategy will differ. So I have experience in, a lot of experience in self-serve launches, but also enterprise launches because we have both. So again, happy to answer questions on both. But today we're going to do a deeper dive into interactive, which is an enterprise go-to-market. So Vimeo has 3 different business lines. We have our community business line, we have our self-serve business line, we have our enterprise business line. And our community is comprised of 150 million users and is, the network we've built around the watch experience on Vimeo, and the user engagement surrounding that watch experience. And then the free experience that these users get is basic video hosting, basic player, basic creation tools that we have. Then we have our self-serve business, which has 3 paid plans that really offers just more advanced video hosting, player, and creation tools than our free offering has. And then we scale to enterprise, which, you know, the value prop there is more security and scale, which is pretty standard when you think about large organizations. Who are looking for like enterprise grade software. They're looking for more security and, you know, more scale. So when we think about our go-to-market at Vimeo, we have 3 solutions. So we have video for marketing, we have video for knowledge sharing, and we have video for media, targeting different buyers with different competitive sets. For video for marketing, we're targeting marketing and small business owners who really want to grow their businesses, and they're looking to create and host video content. And our main competitors here are YouTube and Wistia. And then video for knowledge sharing targets knowledge workers with a focus on comms, training, and enablement teams who really want to use video to communicate internally and enable you know, their workforce. Competitors here are like Loom, Dropbox, Brightcove, and others. And finally, we have a video for media offering where we target content businesses where video is their business. And an example of this customer is like a fitness business that needs to run a virtual video business and monetize their content. So think about like fully online fitness businesses. They're looking for solutions where they can host video and they can monetize their video. And so we have an offering for that. And then we have products and features that roll up into those solutions because really like, and this has been also like an evolving pivot. We're really, you know, positioning enterprise in a solution-oriented way versus a very like feature product capability oriented way, because we don't want to sell point solutions on enterprise. You want to sell, you know, solutions. And so within basically our product areas are hosting and player creation and editing, events and webinars, video management, analytics, video monetizations, integrations and API, access management, and compliance. Believe it or not, we are more than just a place to host your videos. We offer a lot of video capabilities. And I mentioned we're going to focus on interactive, which really falls within the creation and editing product area. Okay, so let's dive into this artifact and this go-to-market. So I'll start with some context setting on this go-to-market. So this product was acquired through a company called Wirewax. So we were kind of in the market for, you know, shoppable videos and interactive videos, and we came across Wirewax that was really, really good in this space. And we kind of, you know, had been seeing that our enterprise customers were wanting shoppable videos, and they kind of were looking to make make their training content more interactive. So we acquired them because it was a natural kind of expansion opportunity of our offering for our core enterprise buyers. So what I mean by that is like, you know, really understanding our customers' needs and understanding, okay, what are they looking for in the market? And then saying, okay, you guys want interactive video. And that's what kind of spearheaded our push to purchase a company that had this capability. And what was awesome is when we acquired them, and I'm sure you guys, as many of you as product marketers, you know, would dream to have an acquisition and then a product launch because we had the benefit of all of their customer data. What worked, what didn't, what industries, you know, they were having success in, where they didn't have success, what the price points were. Like, it was really, really helpful. It kind of saves a lot of time on the research front because you have a ton of data. And that helped us have, you know, strong conviction on job titles we needed to go after, industries we needed to focus on, price points we wanted to go out with. So that was really awesome. And regardless, though, of all that data, we did do a beta test for this with a small group of sellers because we did want to prove out our sales pitch, our messaging, and we wanted to see how the pricing landed before we went GA and, you know, spent all the effort and time enabling a full sales team. Okay, so let's take a step back really quickly. So how should you think about devising a go-to-market strategy? So There are really 6 elements that have to happen before you come up with a channel plan for the actual launch. I think sometimes product marketers jump to like, how are we promoting a product? There is a lot more that should go into a go-to-market strategy. First, it's super important to understand the macro view of what's happening in the industry that makes your product relevant for your customer. Second, having a grasp on what the market looks like, who are the competitors, what do they offer, how does what you're bringing to market differ from those competitors. All of those things are super important to understand pretty intimately. And then third, like mapping your target personas and having a deep understanding of their pain points and needs is critical. Fourth comes messaging, where you really craft key messages and value props based on all of the research you did on market relevance and your customers' pain points. And then you tie that to how your product solves those pain points. Fifth comes pricing and packaging, which is how you will price and package the product. And often this is based on competitive research and qualitative and quantitative data. And then 6 comes, setting clear goals for product lines based on existing customer adoptions, and setting clear channel plans. So one thing I do want to call out is that, if you do the first 3 elements really thoughtfully, it helps you nail the rest of the strategy. I've seen product marketers spend less time on the upfront research and, really understanding the customer. And that's when the messaging, pricing, and channel plans just don't land. So it's important you spend a lot of your time on those elements. So I'll take you through how we thought about each of these elements for this launch. So we asked, within the problem and industry context, we asked, what problem does interactive solve for our customers? Where is video headed? Why does this matter? And we asked a lot of these questions as we were going through the acquisition process with Wirewax, because we made a big decision in acquiring a company. So, we were able to do that research really early on and making that decision. And really what we found out is kind of 3 things. When customers use interactive, it worked. It drove much higher engagement and conversion than non-interactive video. We also found, and I mentioned this earlier, that customers wanted to make their videos interactive. So the market already understood the value of this, and it would only increase as interactive became more accessible and easier to use and more democratized. We also found that, end customers prefer, sorry if you hear my 1.5-year-old's crying, which you all got to see what she looks like, so you have some context. And the third thing is, end customers prefer interactive video. So like consumers prefer interactive video, and that's, who our target buyers are trying to appeal to. So there were just a lot of signals that interactive was a product that would drive a ton of value for our target buyers, and that demand for it would only increase over time. So when looking at the competitive landscape, there were a lot of options in the market that were complicated to use, with many companies requiring production agencies to build the interactive videos. It was interesting, like a lot of the interactive products in the market are clunky and really, really hard to use. But what we loved about Wirewax was that it was easy to use, but also feature rich. And that's, why we kind of ultimately decided that that was the company we were going to acquire, because, when looking at, how Vimeo Interactive would stack up in the market, we won on brand recognition, because for context, we integrated the Wirewax tech into Vimeo and decided to launch it as like Vimeo Interactive versus keep Wirewax as a brand that we were going to maintain. And so as with that strategy, it's like we would win on brand recognition because Vimeo has the reach and the scale that drives that. And a lot of players in the market were way more niche. We also were, going to win on having an intuitive UX. And also more like customization capabilities than many other tools in the market. And with the thing to mention too is that with all of our other video tools, we were able to package Vimeo as like the complete video solution for enterprise. something to just highlight is we also have conviction that we can really, like, interactive is a really powerful tool and it can be democratized even further. And so something we have talked about as a strategy for this year is even pulling it down to self-serve and, making it more accessible for self-service users. So that is something that, like, is the latest thinking on this product line, but I'm walking you through specifically the moment in time product launch that we did like a year and a half ago or so. What you don't see in this artifact is a side-by-side competitive comparison because, we had to pull that out just because we didn't want to include competitor names in a public artifact. But I highly recommend that you guys do the research on what features and capabilities competitors have and what their position is in the market and their messaging is in the market, because by having that full understanding, it really helps crystallize for you where you win and how you want to position yourself in the market. Another thing to mention that's also important to do is to equip your sales team with battle cards, because often customers are assessing a few different vendors and your sales team needs to have the quick elevator pitch on how your company differs from the other players in the market. So ensuring that you have that for the team is super helpful. So jumping to target personas. So for interactive, our target buyers were marketing managers, more specifically content marketing managers in retail, and training and enablement managers in tech and educational services companies. And for us with this launch, we were able to get really focused on our target buyer by looking at where WireWax had success and where there was overlap with Vimeo customers. Because Vimeo's scale is so large, we wanted to focus on expansion of our existing customers versus spending immediately on net new acquisition, which really makes sense. We acquired this company that cost a lot. And so part of the strategy too was like, okay, we'll add this powerful asset, and then we have a huge base of customers that have churned, that we can go after versus like thinking about a net new acquisition strategy. So that was a really core part of our thinking. And we looked at like all of the Salesforce data, both on the Vimeo side and on the WireWax side, and we used that data to analyze the overlap and to determine kind of where we felt we had the best chance of success. And yeah, I mentioned this, but I do think just like working on a go-to-market via an acquisition is in many ways advantageous data-wise, because you have all the data from the company on what's worked and what hasn't, given that the product's been in market. And so when you launch something net new, it's really important to do the customer research, both qualitative and quantitative. And it's important to spend time really understanding what customers you're currently winning with, and if the product you're launching is an expansion play of your existing customer set, or if you're going after a net new buyer entirely. Okay, so moving on to the messaging. So for interactive messaging, we had a first draft based on kind of the pain points that we were solving for with our target customers, but we wanted to understand how it would land with those customers. So we did some qualitative research by interviewing existing customers to help refine it. And we tested then the messaging via our sales team in the beta launch, which was really, really helpful. And it's funny because I do a lot of self-serve go-to-market launches and I do enterprise go-to-market launches. And enterprise go-to-market launches are just super helpful because you have an entire sales force to lean on for input. And I highly recommend, as a product marketer, building a strong partnership with your customer-facing teams is critical, because they provide so much insight into the work you do as a product marketer. And so for this launch, we've landed, and our messaging has evolved since this, but this is where we landed, on 4 key value pillars, which is, grow your business by showcasing your products through clickable hotspots and easy to cart functionality, increase brand affinity by driving more engaging content through video branching and overlay capabilities, educate and boost team performance with in-video quizzes and knowledge retention, and unlock new insights about your audience behavior through user-level engagement analytics to understand a viewer's true interest and intent. And depending on who sales was talking to, they would lean into different value pillars. So as an example, if they were talking to marketers, they would focus on value pillar 1, 2, and 4. And for training and enablement leaders, they would focus on 3 and 4. And that just carried through to like the sales decks they had, the one sheets they had, which was buyer specific. So on to pricing. So at Vimeo, we have an enterprise base plan, and then we have an add-on strategy. And we decided that interactive should be an add-on versus as a part of the core enterprise SKU. And the reason was that there was a pretty high willingness to pay for this, and we saw that through the Wirewax data, and we also had conducted some additional quantitative research to also validate that there was a pretty high willingness to pay for this product. And in the beta, we saw that this was really interesting. We saw that we closed a percentage of the deals at our target price or above that we set based on all that research. And then a percentage of deals we closed at a significant discount. And it was weird. It was like this chasm of, basically deals that were closed at the price point we set, and then deals that were highly discounted. And for the beta, we gave sellers a much more lenient discounting rules because we were testing pricing, and we wanted to kind of see what the elasticity was for different buyers. And what was really interesting when we dug into it, the buyers who purchased the product at lower price points were content businesses that needed like basic interactivity features. And the buyers who purchased the product at higher price points were our target buyers, that we kind of set out as a part of the launch, who purchased the product at higher price points because, they were marketers or training and enablement leaders that had just a higher willingness to pay because, we're at larger organizations. So this was a really important insight for us, and we decided to bring to market 2 SKUs for the launch, one at a lower price point, targeting those small business content businesses, which, those were typically small business owners, and one at a higher price point, targeting the marketing and comms enablement professionals. So just a testament to how important I think like beta periods are in actually garnering the learnings that you need to ensure you have a really successful go-to-market strategy. So once we had the strategy set, what the industry context was, what the competitive landscape looked like, who we wanted to target, what our messaging was, and how we were going to price and package the product, we were ready to come up with a promotional plan for GA and set clear targets for the product line. I don't have a slide on like the actual promotional plan, but it is in the artifact, so you guys can take a look. But really the channel plan was about ensuring our sales team had what they need to be successful, like a strong sales pitch, that is key, a one-sheeter, battle cards, and partnering with sales enablement on making sure that, you get all of the sales team, sales engineers ramped up on the product and the market. And then to drive demand on the marketing side, we leaned heavily on email outreach since we had so many customers who churned, and like we have so many customers in our database. And then we can also pull into self-serve, for people we think are good enterprise candidates. So we did a lot of email outreach to drive demand. And we also, promoted a blog post, did some PR. We had an interactive landing page and a content calendar, that had an SEO strategy around it. And we had an event plan to promote the new product in a series of webinars. So really the channel plan was centered around kind of a demand generation strategy. So yeah, and which if we were doing a self-serve launch, like our thinking would be different. So happy to answer questions around that. So let's wrap up with a few key takeaways. So, as you work through a go-to-market strategy, it's really critical to make sure you identify what problem you're solving and how it fits into where the industry is headed. Something to note here is like you should have a strong partnership with your product partner, and they should have, like, they also should have all of this in their PRD, and, strong product managers, like, know the ins and outs of this stuff too, but partnering with them on it and helping color this really early on is critical. And sometimes there's definitely situations at companies where product does their thing and then it's like, okay, go promote this. And then you're like, wait, I need to understand all this context. And you're like trying to figure it out. It's better to just be a part of the journey from the beginning with them, because it makes the launch and your strategy so much better. And also you have like really tight alignment. So that's number one. Number two, determine how you uniquely stand out in the market against your competition, and ensure your sales team knows that as well. And your right to win really shines in the messaging that you end up putting out. Number three, go deep on target personas, talk to them, do focus groups, understand what problems they have and how your product uniquely solves their pain points. Nothing matters more than having a deep understanding of your customer. Sometimes we get caught up in all of the things at a company and you forget what matters, and literally your customer is the only thing that matters, and the problems you are solving for them, and how you're making their life better. So as a product marketer, really being the tip of the spear there and really advocating for customers and understanding them is key. The fourth thing is, use quantitative research or beta testing to inform pricing and packaging. There's a lot you can understand from having a product in beta and testing with like a small tiger team of sellers. So I definitely think that has proven super helpful for us at Vimeo, and I highly recommend that. And number five, set clear targets that you align on with your customer facing teams. Typically they'll be gold against all these things as well, because if you do a good job of feeding product launches into the, broader model for the business, really aligning with sales leaders and the teams that, are also going to be accountable is really key. So driving cross-functional alignment with the targets you're setting, and setting targets is important for a go-to-market. So that's it from me. I think I was right on the nail with 30 minutes. So
Yeah, perfect. All right, we have a few questions coming in the chat. So I'll ask people to unmute to give a little bit more context to their question if you're willing to. If not, I'll read it out. Holly, you have our first question about the two price SKUs. Did you want to unmute and give a little context to your question for Zoe?
Yeah, sure. And sorry, because I think I put my question in the wrong place potentially, but never mind. Yeah, we at the company that I work at, we definitely have a similar setup in terms of slightly different groups of ICPs that have different kind of pricing readiness. And I struggle a lot with how to publicly promote pricing, if maybe that's not a decision that you made, but publicly promoting that pricing without exposing the lower price to the wrong customers.
That's a great question, Holly. So what the beauty of enterprise is, it's all in back-end SKUs. So we don't didn't have to worry about having the pricing and the feature breakdown on our website. So, I know like that definitely varies. And, if you're struggling with that because you guys are promoting it on your site, that's tricky. I think, what you should do though is ensure there's like a real differentiation between those SKUs, because what's tricky to do is have the same exact product for different prices for different customers. That is not something we do at Vimeo. What we do is, if we find that there are actual differences in needs around a product offering, we kind of think about it from like basic to advanced. And so what we found in this launch is that like content businesses were small business owners and they really needed basic interactivity, whereas then organizations needed more advanced interactivity, and in addition to that, more security and scale. So it's, we were able to really package two differentiated packages at different price points. So that would be my push, is like really think through how, if you can work on differentiating packages as much as possible. So there, and then you could promote it publicly.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Next question comes from Becky. Becky, did you want to come off mute and ask your question? Going once, going twice for Becky. If not, I can read it.
Hey.
Cool. So Becky asks, curious if you can share a bit about the buyer's journey targeting content marketers within a larger team. Were they the ultimate decision makers? Were they the advocates that had to run the buy decision up the chain? How did you know to start with a manager level persona?
Yeah, so they were the ultimate decision makers. They weren't the users in many instances. They would tap their production team to help them like set, create interactive videos. But we knew that they were the buyers and the ultimate decision makers from the data because WireWax had acquired many accounts through that buyer persona. And then we also at Vimeo happen to have many like content managers in, retail specifically, that were also buyers. So we were able to kind of draw that connection and then, really kind of map the buyer journey effectively. But it's tricky. Like if you don't have the data, it's hard. And something we've struggled with at Vimeo is we have a lot of different buyers. Because we just have, like, think about our scale, 150 million users within our community. Self-serve is 1.8 million. There's so many different buyers, and it is sometimes hard to draw those connections because it's like hard to find the signal within the noise.
Totally. Awesome. Next question comes from Davis Johnson. Davis, are you still here?
Yeah. Hey, Zoe, thanks so much. This has been really interesting. So my question was just about, you mentioned for this launch that, right, it was very sales-led and demand generation focused. How would it have changed if it was for more of the self-service audience in terms of the kind of channels and promotion you would have done?
Yeah, so the self-service audience is really thinking about more of like a scale strategy. So probably mimics more of what you would see in like a B2C, go to market. And really the focus there and the channels we would lean into is, paid advertising, SEO, like I'll give you an example, like the editor. We launched an editor and we're actually going GA with it soon, and it's launching on our self-serve offering. There's millions and millions of people searching for editor tools in the market. And so really on Google a month. And so really thinking about how can we show up and rank highly. So we have a whole site SEO strategy for that to drive scale. That will be kind of like a multi-year plan. If you think about just how Canva has grown so significantly, it's through this like massive SEO content strategy. So that's, kind of how we think about self-serve. How can we drive scale organically for low cost? But, also, is it worth doing paid, to fuel that growth as well? Like, can we drive good LTV to CAC there, based on where we're tiering things? So, that's a consideration that we don't do as much on the enterprise side. On enterprise, we're focused more on webinars and reaching into our base. And then, we do think about like influencer strategies and, how can we really showcase this, like, within our communities. So there's just, it's quite a bit of a different, just like, from the onset, like different strategic thinking on how to drive that, how to drive like buzz and excitement. Also like PR is much like it's more important because we do want to really drive the buzz on self-serve to drive the volume. And on enterprise, often the stories are more like they're more focused on a smaller target audience, right? So it's actually more about like, how can we should be briefing analysts and driving awareness with analysts. And then, so it just it's some of the channel execution overlaps, but the way you think about it differs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Of course.
Love that. Next question is from Zoe Roberts. Asks a question that's very near and dear to my heart personally. Zoe, are you still here to ask your question?
I am, and I'm coming from a product management perspective here, but yeah, insights or strategies for managing the process of updating documentation, support resources, and all of that sort of in the scheme of a go-to-market plan. Definitely struggling with that right now.
And I like your name. Hi, Zoe, fellow Zoe. So with the question, just so I'm clarifying, the question is, you have like a sea of all this documentation and you're struggling with how to keep it all organized?
Yeah, and also, I guess I'm thinking about, or just if you can speak more to the strategy and timeline, I guess, around how you coordinate that, especially if you're going to take an iterative approach or you're differentiating the product for different customers, how you keep any support resources, like, for example, knowledge-based, up to
Yeah.
date working for your customers.
Yeah, so I think it probably depends on the scale of company you work at. So Vimeo, we have like a large support team. And so we have a process with product management and PMM where we loop them in early. So what we do, and you'll see in the artifact, actually it might be missing from the artifact, but at the beginning of our go-to-market templates, it's like who is part of the project team. Someone from support is always a part of the team. And so we do regular meetings. So weekly, when it's a really important product launch, weekly standing meetings on the product launch that includes the product manager, the support lead, and that becomes a work stream within the go-to-market planning to ensure, all of the support material and knowledge base is updated. And it's a collaboration. It's on the support person as a part, as the point person, as a part of the go-to-market working team to make sure it's updated. But often the content and, the tone of all that stuff comes from collaboration with product marketing and, making sure the product manager feels good about it and it's accurate and all of that. But if you work at a smaller team, likely it's just product and support working together on those things. And I think, are you at a company that has like a official product marketing team?
No.
Yeah. So, recommendation is, you have your PRD, you have your whole launch plan, you're handling engineers, do the same thing for go-to-market. Have, a launch plan for that with all of, and use, I would suggest you could start with the artifact and figure out who on the marketing side and the support side should be a part of that core team to ensure a successful launch, and then do standing meetings for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Next question is from Magda Joshi. Magda, are you still here?
Yep, I'm here.
Would you like to ask your question?
Sure. Hi, Zoe. Thank you for doing this. My question was that had the feature been rolled out as a part of the smaller brand that you acquired, what would you do differently, right? Because that's a challenge we face. Most of our products are in partnership with very reputed brands and they tend to do well. But when we try to launch a product of our own, which is our own branding, it struggles in the market, right? So my question was, if you could just add to that, what would you do differently in launching a smaller brand?
Can I ask you a question? Are you at a company that's acquiring brands and then you're doing you're launching new products on behalf of that brand? Or are you saying that products that you've seen success with or product launches that you've had success with are products where you partner with other companies on the go-to-market?
Yes, it's the latter. We partner with
Okay.
brands, but our branding is all white label. So we don't really showcase our own brand when we promote those products. To give you an example, we create online certificate programs with, say, an MIT X-Pro or a Northwestern Kellogg, right? And all of our programs are branded in the school brands, and we don't use any of our own branding in that.
Okay, interesting. So that I can answer that it's different to me than what happened with Wirewax, because if we had decided to keep the Wirewax brand, that was an existing interactive brand, and we would have dug into like what works, what doesn't, you know, how can we fuel growth of this brand? And we would have kept the brand, you know, because it made more sense, you know, separate from Vimeo than apart from part of Vimeo.
Right.
But it sounds like what you're saying is you see success when you white label your product with partners that have kind of the community and the brand recognition. And so I think that's just a strategic question, right? That you have to answer with your team is, is that the growth strategy for the company? Or do you really want to say, no, we want to build our own brand and we want to embark on driving credibility with these types of users. And then that's a whole go to market in and of itself. And you know, you have to think through that strategy. So I think it's like important to answer that strategic question. And then, you know, depending on where you land, go down a path. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Awesome. We probably have time for 2 more questions. So there's a question from Pascal that has a few upvotes about KPIs. Pascal, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here. Yeah, so do you have any tips on how to actually create feasible results or KPIs for a launch? Because that's something we oftentimes struggle with. We use MRR as our like main goal, but really breaking that down into kind of deals won or demos booked, like I find it very hard. So would love to know if you have some tips how you do it at the Vimeo.
So I have been through multiple iterations of how we do it at Vimeo, and here's my suggestion. What is super important is taking a step back as a company and saying, what are our key metrics? And what is our attribution model? And so if you're on enterprise, it's like, how are we, you know, thinking about MQLs, SQLs, what does the pipeline numbers look like? And then using that existing model and layering in assumptions based on a new go-to-market into that model versus, you know, coming at it from an angle that doesn't really start with the like existing base of how you think about the growth of the business, if that makes sense. I feel like we've now gotten into a really good place at Vimeo where we have really clear kind of growth models on what our key levers are. So when we launch something new, it's like, well, this is going to impact this lever. And it just then is like an assumption on like that lever of our models versus, you know, if you don't have that core understanding to start from, it starts getting really tricky. And you kind of come up with a bunch of metrics that are good and, you know, in and of themselves and feel right, but it doesn't end up being super useful and it's hard to corral people against them, if that makes sense. So my advice would be ask you know, really dig into like what those, you know, key levers are for the business and what the business model, like financial model is. And then it helps you understand when you launch new products, what you can actually move within that model.
And maybe one second follow-up, small part. How would you handle it if you, for example, have a product where you move into a new market into so that you don't really have that experience yet of what you've maybe learned with your existing customers, but you're trying to kind of move a little bit into another market segment?
I think so. It's interesting. We actually at Vimeo, that's a definitely growth opportunity for us to get a lot better about like international expansion. I'll take that back. We are in many international markets. We just aren't super intentional about, you know, how to treat different international go-to-markets. And I think that what's helpful to do is look at your US baseline and then understand, like do customer research and market research within that market to then start to say, okay, how should we think about this product in this market differently? And what are some core assumptions that we think might differ based on this audience type? And maybe you can even glean some insights based on like looking at segmentation within your US customer base. But I think it's really about like understanding customers in different markets, market dynamics in different markets, and then using the data you have on the markets you're in to draw some, you know, educated assumptions.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. That brings us to time, guys. Thank you so much for everybody's time. I'm dropping in the chat right now a link to Zoe's artifact, which you can access for free, and you can drop comments if you had questions that didn't get answered. You can leave a comment. Zoe will get notified, and when she has time, she can check out those comments.
Yeah, happy to respond.
Yeah, for sure. Any final words, Zoe, before we log off here?
No, you know, definitely add comments. I'm happy to respond on the artifact. If you have questions, you can LinkedIn me and reach out. I love helping out fellow product marketers, so and product folks and growth folks. So definitely ping me.
So a Christian asked, do you have a Substack or newsletter they can subscribe to?
I don't, because I don't have the time, but maybe someday.
Awesome. All right. Thanks everybody so much. Have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you again in a session soon.
All right, awesome. Thanks, everyone. Bye.